My sister looked me straight in the eye and said, "You can cry later. Today's mine," right before she hijacked both my wedding venue and my date. The worst part? She had absolutely no clue who my fiancé really was. The truth about him? It shattered her. You don't mind pushing yours back, do you? It's just a small wedding anyway. Ours is going to be something people actually remember. That's exactly what my little sister, Maya, said to me 3 weeks before I was supposed to get married. She said it with a smile, like it was no big deal, after stealing the venue I had reserved over a year ago. She didn't just take the date. She took the last ounce of respect I had left for my family. My name's Lena Donovan. I'm 35, and I teach visual arts at a quiet little liberal arts college in Portland. I'm not flashy or trendy. I don't care much for social media, and I'm certainly not the type to collect followers by posting filtered pictures of my lunch. That's Maya's domain. She's 28, a beauty and lifestyle influencer, whatever that even means anymore. My parents have always doted on her. Always. Me? I'm the calm one. The one who chose a steady life over chasing some wild dream. Their words, not mine. I got engaged last fall to Ethan, an architectural designer I met during a guest lecture. He was soft-spoken, thoughtful, and had a quiet way of seeing beauty in things most people just passed over. Like me. We fell in love slowly, over mugs of black coffee, pages of sketchbooks, and long, rainy walks along the Willamette River. When we decided to get married, I didn't want a showy affair. I picked this cozy little art gallery that hosted small weddings. It meant something to us. Ethan told me he loved me for the first time there. The place was small, but perfect. We locked it in more than a year in advance. May 20th, 3 p.m. Everything was set, invites mailed, florist confirmed, caterer booked. Even my dress was custom-made by one of my former students. It was supposed to be our day. Then Maya called. Said she had huge news and insisted on a family dinner at our parents' place. I should have known something was up the moment I walked in and saw the champagne already open. Maya looked like she just won the lottery. She was practically vibrating in her chair. My parents beamed at her like she'd just solved climate change. "I'm getting married," she squealed, turning to Marcus, her boyfriend of 6 months. He's this glossy advertising executive with a $1 million smile and a personality that feels like a sales pitch. "That's fast," I managed to say, still trying to process it all. "Oh, and guess what? We're getting married on May 20th. Isn't that wild?" she said, practically bouncing. I froze. "What do you mean, May 20th? I asked, slowly, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. Maya giggled like I just said something cute. I know, but come on, you didn't trademark the date, Lena. Besides, you can just reschedule, right? Your wedding's small. Ours is going to be this huge thing. We got the Armitage Hotel." Marcus's uncle pulled a few strings to snag the ballroom. It was literally the only date left. My stomach dropped. The Armitage was one of the most elite venues in the city. But more than that, what about me? I turned to my parents, expecting something. Support. Sanity. Anything. My dad just shrugged. "Maybe it's better if you adjust, sweetie. His wedding's going to have more guests. More coverage. Might be good for the family image." "Coverage?" Then my mom chimed in, soft but firm. "Lena, don't make this difficult. Yours is a more intimate ceremony. Just move it to the next weekend. Everyone will understand." But I didn't understand. I sat there, stunned, while my own family casually erased my wedding like it was a dinner reservation. I stood up slowly. "I'm not changing the date. We planned this over a year ago." Maya's smile slipped. "Don't be selfish, Lena." I wanted to scream. But instead, I just grabbed my bag and walked straight out the door. Behind me, I could hear my mother calling, "Think about what's best for the family." That night, I told Ethan everything. He didn't say a whole lot, just held my hand, listened, and told me, "We'll figure this out." And I believed him. Or at least I wanted to. But the very next morning, my phone rang. It was the gallery coordinator. Her voice was tight with regret. "Lena, I'm so sorry, but we just found out there's been a last-minute change. The gallery won't be available on May 20th anymore." My breath caught in my throat. "What? Why?" I managed to ask. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "It's been rebooked, under the name Maya Donovan." I stood frozen. My sister hadn't just taken my date. She'd actually stolen the venue, too. I dropped the phone. My hands trembled, and it felt like the whole world had tilted sideways while I was the only one falling. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't some unlucky accident or mix-up. Maya didn't just want my wedding day. She wanted to erase me completely. But what she didn't know, what she could never have seen coming, was who Ethan really was and what we were about to do next. I stood alone in our little kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing keeping me upright. The coordinator's words looped through my head again and again. Booked under Maya Donovan's name. She hadn't just taken a date. She'd taken the exact spot Ethan and I had chosen with so much care, the place where our story began. The space where I pictured walking toward him, surrounded by people who understood us, who knew the little details that made our love real. And she took it like it was just another prop for her feed. Ethan walked in holding 2 cups of coffee, but stopped the second he saw my face. I didn't need to explain. My voice came out in a whisper. She took the gallery. He set the drinks down gently and crossed the room in just a couple of strides. We'll find another place, he said, his tone soft, reassuring. I shook my head. No, you don't understand. This isn't about finding another venue. She waited until every piece was in place, until I'd done all the work. Then she swooped in and took it. This was intentional. I knew Maya too well. Her smiles were always shiny on the outside, but underneath was this deep hunger to be adored. She didn't feel whole unless she was center stage and everyone else faded into the background. And in our family, she never had to fight for that spotlight. It was handed to her the day she was born. When I told my parents what she'd done, their reaction was exactly what I expected. Well, maybe you should have locked in the deposit earlier, my dad said, brushing it off like it was no big deal. I did, I replied. She outbid it. Mom didn't even fake sympathy. It's just a venue, Lena. Not worth creating a rift over. Be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. Again. Always. I was the one who stayed quiet. The one who stepped aside. The one who let others shine while I disappeared into the wings. But something inside me cracked. I stopped replying to Maya's texts. Blocked her on Instagram. And when she posted her so-called dream venue reveal, complete with photos of the very place I used to call mine, I deleted the wedding board I'd been working on for a year. Then I went to Ethan. I don't want to do this anymore, I told him. He looked up from his sketchpad. Do what? Pretend, I said. Pretend like I'm okay. Like I can just smile and nod while they pretend I don't exist. Ethan didn't speak right away. He closed his sketchpad slowly, then stood and reached for his phone. Come with me, he said. We got in the car and drove, nearly an hour of silence between us. I didn't ask where we were headed. Honestly, I didn't care. I was drained, mentally, emotionally, like my heart had been scooped out and left behind on the gallery floor. Finally, we pulled up to a set of gates covered in ivy. A security guard stepped out and opened them the second he recognized Ethan. Where are we? I asked. Ethan glanced over and smiled. Somewhere no one can take from you. We followed a winding stone drive through the trees and finally arrived at what looked like a dream, an enormous modern glass estate, tucked into the forest like something out of an art magazine. It had indoor gallery wings, perfectly sculpted gardens, and a reflection pool that shimmered like it had been kissed by some divine hand. Ethan, what is this place? I whispered. He turned to me, calm and steady in a way I hadn't seen before. I own it, he said. I blinked. What? There's something I haven't told you, he went on. I haven't exactly been open about everything. I don't just work for clients, I design for myself. I have a studio, investments. I keep things quiet because I've seen how fast people change the second money enters the picture. I stared at him, completely stunned. He continued, this is my personal gallery. And if you want it, it's yours. For the wedding. For anything. I sat there in complete silence. He wasn't trying to impress me. He was trying to show me I hadn't been erased. Ethan wasn't just handing me a venue. He was giving me something so much bigger, a sense of control, a sense of dignity, even power. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had a say again. My eyes stung, but I pushed through and managed a smile. Maya's going to absolutely lose her mind, I said. Ethan grinned. She doesn't have the slightest clue what's coming. And just when I thought I'd hit the highest loop of the emotional roller coaster, it plunged again. That night, my phone buzzed with a notification. Marcus Stone, Maya's fiancé, had just followed me on Instagram. That alone was strange, considering we'd never exchanged a word. Then a direct message came through. You deserve better than what they did to you. Can we talk? I just stared at my screen for what felt like forever. The words were so unexpected, I honestly thought he must have sent them to the wrong person. You deserve better than what they did to you. Can we talk? From Marcus Stone, Maya's future husband. I half wondered if he was just trying to stir up trouble, but the message felt intentional. Direct. Ethan came into the room right then, holding a glass of wine. You all right? He asked, handing it to me. I nodded, a little too quickly. Yeah, just, still processing everything. I didn't tell him about the message. Not yet. Instead, I typed a single word back to Marcus. Why? His reply came almost instantly. Because I'm not blind. I see what's going on. And honestly, I'm starting to think I might be the next one she's using. That hit harder than I expected. Not because I cared about Marcus, but because I knew exactly what he meant. That hollow, sinking realization that someone you love might be manipulating you instead of loving you. He asked if we could meet. Nothing strange, just coffee in a public spot. Against my better judgment, I said yes. We met the next afternoon at a little cafe tucked downtown. I kept my head low, sunglasses on, hoodie pulled up, hoping nobody would recognize me. Marcus arrived dressed like he was headed for a business meeting, charcoal blazer, crisp shirt, the whole deal. He didn't waste time. "I didn't know she stole your venue," he said as he sat down. "She told me you'd postpone the wedding, something about budget issues." I let out a dry laugh. "That's a lie." He sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Yeah, I'm starting to see that now. The whole thing, it feels more like a PR stunt than a wedding. She keeps pushing for sponsorships. Wants the ceremony filmed by some guy who works on reality TV." My stomach twisted. "Last week," he added, "she asked if we could say we met on a beach in Bali. Said it'd be more romantic for the press." What? I nearly choked on my coffee. "Yeah." Said our real story wasn't share-worthy enough. We sat there for a minute, letting the clinking of dishes and soft music fill the silence that had suddenly grown heavy. Then Marcus leaned in, lowered his voice. "I found something else," he said. "She has a second phone." I blinked. "What?" "She hides it in her makeup drawer. I caught her texting late one night." She laughed at something, but when I asked, she got cagey, deleted the messages, told me I was being paranoid. My blood ran cold. "You think she's cheating?" I asked quietly. He shrugged, clearly torn. "I don't know, but I know I don't trust her. And I can't shake the feeling that I'm just another accessory in her perfect little brand." I didn't know how to respond. I'd come expecting some drama, maybe a little gossip, but not this. Not full-on unraveling. As we stood to leave, Marcus looked me right in the eyes. "Whatever you're planning, I want in. I want to help." That night, I told Ethan everything, the messages, the cafe meetup, even the burner phone. To my surprise, he didn't look shocked or upset. He looked ready. "This is exactly why we don't fold," he said. "They tried to tear you down in front of everyone. Now it's time to remind them who you are." The next few days moved fast. Ethan was making calls, quiet ones, strategic ones. He told me to trust him, and I did. Then the invitations went out. Ours were hand-delivered, each one printed on thick cardstock with gold leaf accents and elegant calligraphy. But that wasn't the showstopper. Every invite came with a private RSVP code, one that led to details about our venue, the Brooks Pavilion. I'd never heard of it before Ethan showed me. But apparently, in his world, it wasn't just exclusive, it was iconic. People started buzzing about it the moment the invites landed. And that's when Maya finally called. After weeks of silence, she dialed me up, smug, arrogant, full of herself. "Hey, sis," she chirped, all syrup and steel. "Just wanted to let you know, we're dropping our wedding trailer on social this weekend. Figured you'd want a heads up, since yours might look a little underwhelming in comparison." I didn't say a word. Just let her talk. 2 days later, before she could drop that big, polished trailer, she got scooped. An industry blog leaked our wedding guest list. Not just names, but names, the kind that made publicists scramble and social media explode. Within hours, it was everywhere. And just like that, Maya's worst nightmare came knocking. She messaged me in a screaming wall of capital letters. "Why is Aiden refusing to finalize our guest list? What did you tell him?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Because while she was spiraling in some overpriced bridal robe, Ethan was in his studio printing our final seating chart. And one particular seat was reserved with elegant precision for a guest Maya had spent years chasing. The editor-in-chief of the very magazine she'd begged to be featured in. Comment too if you want to know what happens when the spotlight gets redirected for good. I always imagined my wedding day would feel dreamy, sacred, like a soft breeze of magic. Turns out, revenge feels even better. The morning of our wedding arrived quietly, almost unnaturally calm. Portland skies were clear for once. Sunlight sliced through the trees around the Brooks Pavilion like gold spilling from the heavens. The air felt crisp, clean, and somehow charged. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was still. Steady. My phone buzzed nonstop, texts, missed calls, Instagram tags piling up like a storm surge. She had seen it. Architectural heir Ethan Brooks to marry local artist at secret estate event. A-list guests confirmed. What she never knew, never bothered to ask, was that Ethan was the Brooks and Brooks Pavilion. The estate she tried to upstage? A joke compared to what we now owned outright. And me? That quiet, forgettable girl she spent a lifetime dimming? I was about to stand in front of Portland's most powerful and shine so bright she'd have to squint to keep up. And she still had no clue who else was coming. By noon, the estate bloomed with movement. Guests flowed in chauffeured cars, designer gowns, photographers flanking the entrance. Artists, architects, journalists. Even the governor's wife, casually sipping champagne like it was Tuesday. Ethan moved through the crowd like he was born to it, handshakes, quiet laughs, warm nods. I stayed tucked away, watching through the window of the bridal suite in stunned silence. Then a knock at the door. It was Marcus. Dressed sharp, polished. His suit crisp, his face unreadable. But his fingers trembled slightly as he held something out to me, a small velvet box. "What's this?" I asked, blinking. "A little insurance," he said, glancing over his shoulder before stepping closer. "She doesn't know I kept it." Inside was a flash drive. Marcus leaned in, voice low. Texts, voice recordings, even some video. She planned to sabotage your wedding. Told the gallery coordinator to bump you. Said it was revenge for you stealing the attention. My throat went dry. She actually said, he added, the only way she could shine was if your light was off. I clutched the drive in my palm, stunned. Why are you giving me this? I whispered. Because I'm done being used, he said, eyes heavy with guilt. And because, maybe if this all blows up, she'll finally learn something. Ethan stepped in just moments later. Calm, composed, every line of his body anchored in resolve. It's time, he said. And it was. The ceremony began at exactly 2 p.m., her chosen time. Only this time, it wasn't hers. It was mine. I walked down the aisle to the gentle hum of a string quartet, through rows of guests I never dreamed would show up for me. My dress moved like water around me, and my heartbeat, for once, didn't stutter. When I reached Ethan, he took my hand with the kind of quiet certainty that made the world fall away. But the real storm came later. During the reception, after the toasts, after the laughter settled into candlelight. Ethan stood up, glass in hand. Thank you all for joining us on this incredible day, he said, voice smooth but steady. Today isn't just about love. It's about truth, about integrity, and about standing tall when someone tries to erase you. The room quieted, attention snapping to him like magnets. He looked at me. I nodded. My wife, he said, my brilliant, kind, resilient wife, she nearly had her wedding stolen from her. The date, the venue, even her sense of self. But instead of folding, she rose. Then he turned to the AV team. And today, we'd like to share the full story. The screen lit up. And there it was, her voice. Maya. She'll cancel. She always does. She's soft. That gallery's mine. I don't care what it takes. Gasps cracked through the silence like thunder. Then came the screenshots. Messages she'd sent to the gallery coordinator. Text to Marcus. This is my year. She can cry later. Some guests gasped. Others, Kira, Zara, exchanged knowing looks. You could see it click for them. That quiet, gut deep recognition. The kind of cruelty they'd seen before, usually hidden behind charm, dressed up in silk and lipstick, camouflaged by smiles. Then came the final blow. A video clip Marcus had secretly recorded. Maya, lounging casually, laughing with a friend. Her voice dripping with disdain. If she really cared about that guy, she'd step aside. She's not even marrying for love. Ethan's just some artsy guy with no money. My wedding's the real deal. The video cut out. Silence, thick and ringing. And then applause. It started small. 1 or 2 people clapping. Then more. Then all at once. Thunderous. Relentless. And that's when the doors burst open. There she was. Maya. Standing at the back of the room in her custom designer gown. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, alone. She scanned the room, wild-eyed. The judgment in people's faces, the betrayal, the truth, it all landed. Then my mother, our mother, stepped forward. Not quietly, not kindly. Maya, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Enough. Leave. Maya blinked, confused, like she'd misheard. What? You've embarrassed this family long enough, Mom said, steady as stone. This isn't your day. And just like that, the golden child, the girl who always won, always sparkled, was cast out by the very people who used to worship her. She ran. 3 days after the wedding, I got a letter. Not a text. Not a DM. A real envelope. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. This isn't over. You stole everything from me. Just wait. I should have felt afraid. But I wasn't. Because by that point, Maya had already lost the 2 things she cared about most in this world. Her image and her control. The wedding video went viral. Especially the part where she mocked Ethan and admitted to sabotaging my plans. It hit every major social platform within a day. Her sponsorships? Gone. Her management agency released a public statement. We have severed ties with Ms. Dane due to a misalignment of values. The luxury skincare brand she had a collaboration with pulled the plug, quietly, swiftly. But the final hit came from Marcus. He posted a dignified, polished announcement. The engagement has been canceled due to irreconcilable values. And then, in a move that shocked even me, he donated the deposit for their canceled wedding to a women's shelter in my name. Meanwhile, Ethan and I were hearing from people all over the country. Messages from artists, designers, old friends, even students I hadn't spoken to since college. Thank you, they wrote, for standing up, for showing what it looks like when quiet cruelty doesn't get to win. I started to believe it was finally over. Until she showed up again. At my university. I was mid-lecture when the department had knocked on the door and pulled me into the hallway. She's here, he whispered. Says it's urgent. I walked into the faculty lounge, and there she was, pacing like a caged animal. But this wasn't the perfectly filtered girl from Instagram. Her hair was unbrushed, her expensive coat buttoned unevenly. Her nails were chipped, the skin around them raw from anxiety. "Lena," she snapped. "You need to fix this." I blinked. "Excuse me. You ruined my life," she spat. "That video, you had no right. It was private. It was me talking to a friend." I stared at her. "Your words. Your choices, Maya." She stepped closer. "I had everything. And now I'm nothing. Are you happy?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't flinch. "No," I said quietly. "I'm not happy you're suffering. I'm just done being the one who always makes room for you to shine." She froze. Like she didn't recognize me. And maybe she didn't. Because I wasn't the same sister she used to dominate and dismiss. I was someone who'd finally chosen myself. And then, she snapped. She lunged, grabbed my wrist, screamed in my face. "I'll make sure you lose it all too." Security was called. Professors and students witnessed it. Cameras caught it. By the end of the week, I filed for a restraining order. The local news picked it up. Former influencer accused of threats, public breakdown at local university. From what I've heard, she's moved back in with our parents. The same from what I've heard that used to follow me around. She's living back at our parents' house now. The same parents who used to brush off her behavior, who told me she's just passionate, or it's just how she is. But now, they finally told her the words she's needed to hear for years. Get help. Not excuses. Not defense. Just truth. Her social media is gone. Deleted. Vanished. The glossy feeds, the filters, the captions about hashtag goals and hashtag gratitude. It's all been wiped clean. Her name, once a trending hashtag, now brings nothing but silence. Maybe even a wince. Meanwhile, Ethan and I just got back from Florence. Our honeymoon was indescribable. Sunlight dripping over Renaissance rooftops. Afternoon espressos in tucked-away cafes. Quiet museum halls where art whispered its stories without needing to scream for attention. It was peaceful in a way I hadn't known I was craving. When we got home, my department offered me a promotion. I said yes. I've also started building something I wish I had when I was younger, a program for young artists who've been bullied out of their creative paths. Because for too long, too many of us let ourselves be pushed to the sidelines. At night, when everything's quiet and the world finally feels still, I look over at Ethan, and I realize, I didn't just get revenge. I got something far more powerful. Freedom. Freedom from always comparing myself. Freedom from feeling like I had to shrink so someone else could shine. Freedom from walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. Maya tried to take everything from me. My voice. My joy. My future. But in the end, she gave me the one thing I never would have claimed on my own. A reason to finally choose myself. And I'll never give that back. And hit subscribe if you want more true stories of revenge, redemption, and reclaiming power.